What's going on, guys? Let's go ahead and jump straight into it. I know it's been a couple of days. Bar has been crazy. For those of you that are new to the channel, I run and operate a bar here in Charlotte, North Carolina. And it does get pretty crazy. We've been working on our Mondays and our Sundays and our Wednesdays. And our Sundays now are jam-packed. We do a Soul Sunday now, which is like funk, 90s, hip hop, R&B, jazz. It's absolutely phenomenal. And for the second time this week, last week was a blowout, then this week was another blowout. So I think Sunday's good to go. And now tonight is going to be karaoke. That's been kind of slow, but that's been building up too. So hopefully that'll be good to go. But yeah, I've been working a lot, building up the business, but I have not been absent from everything that's going on in the Pokemon hobby right now. Sword and Shield is dominating. Sword and Shield is dominating. About time too. I think we've been waiting long enough. I actually thought a lot of these price movements were going to come a lot sooner. I think a lot of people did. Fusion Strike is on the up and up, headed into that $200 range. I think there have maybe already been some sales around $220, which is absolutely ridiculous. There was somebody who DM'd me a couple weeks back about buying a Fusion Strike booster box for $800, and I thought, I don't know if that's something that you want to do, but at the same time, right, we were around during these sets releasing. They were $80, $90. Those of you that are saying, you know, that are probably going to hop into the comments and say, Ryan, what are you talking about? $80, $90 a booster box? That was never a thing. Yes, it was. These boxes were $80 to $90. That was a thing, and a lot of us slept on it because a lot of us didn't see the full potential of these sets. I still don't really see the full potential for a lot of them, right? Like, the numbers are the numbers, and the market doesn't lie, but it seems just kind of ridiculous that some of these sets that are really, really tough to get any pulls from, like you can open boxes on boxes of Fusion Strike and Silver Tempest and Evolving Skies and never pull any of those alt art cards. It's crazy because the alt art market has, you know, done the opposite of what the sealed box market has done, and it tells you a lot. The alt arts have trended lower and lower, and the sealed boxes are trending higher and higher. So in terms of all the Sword and Shield stuff, I think most of these boxes have already started moving. If you're trying to time the market, I think a couple weeks ago, maybe even a couple months ago, was when you really wanted to time the market. Except for Evolving Skies. Evolving Skies pretty much took off right off the jump. But everything else was pretty much timeable. And you could buy a lot of these boxes for under 100 or at least under 120. Whereas now you'd be hard pressed to get any of these boxes under 120 in the Sword and Shield era in that block. Maybe Vivid Voltage or Darkness Ablaze. I would say Darkness Ablaze, probably the most likely Darkness Ablaze or Rebel Clash, or Sword and Shield Base. Actually, no, Sword and Shield Base is like a $200 box. What am I even saying? But, you know, there may be some of these boxes that you can still grab, but would you want to grab them? Considering the fact that some of these boxes just don't have any great chase cards in them, you know, I think I don't want people to misunderstand what's going on with Sword and Shield right now. Just because a lot of these sets are doing well does not mean they're all going to do well. Now, I can give you two sets that I know are going to do really well, one of which has already started moving, even though it's still not sold out on Pokemon Center, or at least last I checked yesterday, it was not sold out on Pokemon Center. Brilliant Stars. Brilliant Stars has a phenomenal alt art Charizard V, and that card drove me crazy when that set came out. And we're starting to see some of those boxes sell for over $143, which is the Pokemon Center price. We're seeing $150, $160. So that one's beginning to move, but I think you can still time that one and still get either a case or a couple boxes. You know, guys, a lot of people are buying these boxes. They can't wait. They FOMO. They're buying them based on listing prices, or they're just buying them up, not really thinking about trying to save a little bit here and there. But if you wait for auctions, auctions are where you're going to get probably the best pricing on a lot of these items. And now with a lot of people collecting these items, you're probably going to see a lot of shill bidding, which we're going to talk about probably in another video. But I think this is like one of the ultimate pumps going on right now. Like, we know these sets are really, really tough to get anything from. We know that they're super modern, super recent, and yet we are all still buying into these sets at all-time highs. And what happens when people buy into these sets at all-time highs? Then they start accumulating, they start buying more, they start adding more onto their collection. And really this is the loading phase for a lot of people coming into the hobby. And what they don't realize was the loading phase was when these sets came out. The loading phase is not really now. You could argue that now is a great time to load up on Sword and Shield, but at the same time, the boat has mostly passed, and there's still going to be a lot of growth, but the growth potential really now is in Scarlet and Violet, which really hasn't started to see any kind of movement, any kind of growth. You can still find a lot of those boxes for $90, $100. Maybe Paldea Evolved is not in that area. I haven't even began to look at buying Silver Tempest, which just goes to tell you, if experienced collectors like myself are not looking at did I say Silver Tempest? Temporal Forces. Sorry, guys. The newest set, Temporal Forces. I haven't even begun to look at Temporal Forces or even think about opening anything or investing in anything. It's actually the first set in Scarlet and Violet that I didn't buy anything to invest in. That and Paldean Fates. I opened all of my Paldean Fates, which proved to be a horrible idea. Got no hits out of any of my Paldean Fates, essentially. But I opened a case of ETBs, and man, did that hurt. But yeah, some of these newer sets, I'm just genuinely not interested in. And I know that is going to affect views. It's going to affect, how much people enjoy the channel, because, doing Pokemon content sometimes means that you have to bolster up all of these sets. And I'm sure there are some cards that I would really like and will probably come to like that are in Temporal Forces. Paldean Fates, there are some cards that I like with the SIR Mew, and the Gardevoir, but not enough for me to really want to dive into that set hardcore, as much as I have with 151, which I still think that 151 is the best thing that you can invest in right now in terms of the newest set, in terms of getting it before it sees some serious growth. Because you can still get on Amazon. I just ordered a 151 UPC from Core TCG, which seems very reputable. I just ordered a UPC from them for $90. Guys, that's not TikTok prices, but the TikTok prices may be going entirely, right? Right now, the country is trying to ban TikTok, and that may very well go through. I think it's unlikely because it is a social media platform. It is kind of like freedom of speech almost. To ban that, I think would be a tragedy in a lot of ways. And it would also help other social medias monopolize. But that is not the point of this video. The point is that we may not see crazy deals like we saw during the TikTok boom when everything was going for super dirt cheap on TikTok. God, that was a great time to be collecting Pokemon. But right now, $90 for 151 UPC seems pretty good. Okay, anyways, backing it back up to Sword and Shield, we're going to try and keep this video shorter. You guys actually seem to really like when I make the videos a little bit shorter, so I'm going to try and condense and really compress as much as I can into a shorter video than doing my typical long form videos. But Silver Tempest looks like it's the best thing that you can buy right now. In terms of Sword and Shield, it looks like the best thing that you can buy if you're just strictly trying to invest in sealed booster boxes. It really doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Yes, these boxes are getting open. Yes, they're going to become scarcer. Yes, the demand is more people are getting into sealed investments, which is all the rage on YouTube right now. So many content creators are saying, invest in this, invest in that. Now is the time to buy this. You have to get this set before it takes off without you. I really try to avoid stuff like that. But right now, Sword and Shield is definitely the dominating era right now. Sun and Moon has gone and passed. There's not a lot of great growth there. And Scarlet and Violet hasn't started quite heating up yet, even though, again, 151 is always going to be on my radar, and it should be on yours too if you're thinking about the sealed investment lifestyle of collecting Pokemon. I personally enjoy collecting vintage cards and buying grails and buying cards that just are absolutely tough to find these days. Like these days, gold stars and crystals, you don't see very many PSA 9, PSA 10 auctions popping up. very often. And when you do, they get bid up pretty high. You can tell that people are still aggressively collecting some of these vintage cards that are really tough to find. Maybe with the new generations of people collecting Sun and Moon, Sword and Shield, Scarlet and Violet, they might not even be relatively interested in any of the vintage. I think that's a really strong point that a lot of people make, but I don't think that's necessarily going to stop those markets from rising. I think that the vintage markets are still going to keep rising. You don't even see gold star auctions right now. You don't even see any auctions, right? There's like maybe one or two auctions and they're probably overpriced or no one's bidding on them because they set the price too high. This is a very interesting time in grail cards and vintage grail cards, a very interesting time. I really want to do another video on that market because I think that that is kind of the behind the scenes big moves happening in the vintage market that people just aren't paying attention as much to. Right now for me, I'm watching the first edition base set Charizard. I'm really excited to pull the trigger on one of those cards in a PSA 9. That would be an absolute dream and a collecting goal for me. I've been wanting that card for the last 3 years and honestly never thought I would get it. After the big Pokemon boom in the pandemic, that card had soared past $30,000, $40,000. There were even some sales at $50,000 for a PSA 9 first edition Charizard, and it's retraced a lot, almost half of the $30,000 price point, around $15,000 to $16,000. There was a Z&G Emporium auction back in the end of October for $16.6, and now that card is trending up around the $20,000 mark, but I still think that there's going to be some deals around 17, 18. Anyways, that's something that I'm keeping my eye on and is the reason why I have not been dumping a ton of money into modern sealed products, because we could be seeing another hype bubble. We could be seeing another thing. This happens all the time in this hobby, the artificial inflation of values of boxes and cards. I think this is way more likely with cards because there's a much larger number of population of these cards out there than there are sealed booster boxes. I think the sealed booster boxes are always going to reign supreme compared to cards, but it's just an example. What we saw with Sun and Moon a year or two ago, everyone dumping money into Sun and Moon, buying all the alt arts. The most notable one was the Latios GX card. That alt art card is absolutely, or maybe not alt art is the right word for it, but it's absolutely stunning. That card was hitting an all-time high and now is retraced a good bit, okay? Things like that happen in this hobby and people need to be very, very careful. I know how badly you probably want to jump on the bandwagon because Sword and Shield is dominating, but Sword and Shield is dominating. It's all relative. It's dominating in comparison to what I bought it for, and in comparison to what people that were in the hobby when these sets were coming out bought it for, right? $100, $110, $120. Now Fusion Strike is $200. Fantastic. Chilling Reign, $80, $90. Nobody wanted to touch it. Now it's at $160, $180, right? These are where it makes, these prices, when these sets first come out, is where it makes a lot of sense. I really don't want people to think that this is just like, you're going to hit the lottery by just buying into sealed Pokemon Modern booster boxes. That could very well be the case. Doesn't make a lot of sense to me. I'm going to be honest with you. The numbers don't lie, but it doesn't make a lot of sense to me because we know how horrible these sets are in reality. We know how difficult it is to pull cards from these sets in reality. And while I'm sitting on a closet full of them, that still doesn't necessarily mean that I believe in the price movement, right? Evolving Skies especially is so ridiculous right now. Okay, I'm sorry. I know a lot of people love Evolving Skies. It makes me very excited to see it trending towards that $1,000 mark per box, but really doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Yes, there are so many alt arts, there are so many chase cards, but I think the Sun and Moon alt arts have a lot more quality and value, in my opinion, than the Sword and Shield alt art cards. But then again, not nearly as many people were into the hobby in Sun and Moon than they are in Sword and Shield. Sword and Shield, I would argue, was the absolute peak of this hobby. So you had the most people collecting Modern, you had the most people playing, you had the most people just in the hobby in general, people sitting at home during the pandemic. There are so many factors that all came together to make Sword and Shield the absolute dominating era. But right now, is it a good time to be buying a lot of these sets? I don't feel comfortable to tell you guys that you should be buying Fusion Strike at $180. Yes, it could go to $300, but is anything inside of that box inherently worth $300? No. You're going to get a Gengar VMAX. That's going to be the best thing that you're possibly going to get, which is a fantastic card. It's a fantastic card. You have a lot of great hits in that box. That made a lot of sense when the box was cheaper. Even around $130, $140 mark, that's a price that I probably would still be comfortable around paying, but $180, $200 for that box when you're probably not going to get anything out of a booster box, guys, this is as realistic as it gets. Anybody that's been in this hobby long enough sees a lot of these modern Sword Shield boxes as gambling, pure gambling. I myself have opened up a ton of product for the live streams. We've opened up heavy hitters. We've opened up ETBs. We've opened up UPCs. We've opened up so much stuff on my live streams. I urge you, if you want to see what pull rates are really like out of Sword and Shield era, go back and watch all of my Sword and Shield openings on all of my live streams. It's pretty horrific. It's pretty bad. Basically, we are completely out of heavy hitters boxes. I bought a pallet of heavy hitters boxes. For those of you that don't know what heavy hitters boxes are, it was a Sam's Club exclusive box for $39.98 with 14 Sword and Shield packs, including Evolving Skies. They've changed that now. It doesn't have Evolving Skies. But anyways, I opened pretty much all the boxes I bought. I sold a couple of them to a friend of mine, and that helped out in terms of me just taking horrendous losses on all those openings. But guys, I can basically tell you firsthand that I've opened the mass majority of products that they put in that store when it came out. You know, I went in after a couple days, no one had bought it, and I was like, you know what, I'm gonna take a huge gamble here because the value is there. I'm gonna buy all of these Sword and Shield packs that come in these heavy hitters boxes. I'm going to buy almost all the heavy hitters boxes, and I'm going to open them. And this will be an interesting thing because I'll get to see what's really inside boxes like this that are sold at stores like this. And what I found was at $2.85 a pack, which is a really, really good cost basis on these packs even now. I got mostly nothing out of those boxes, right? And anybody can tell that sob story of different products they open and getting nothing. But guys, I opened a metric ton. Like, I opened a pallet worth of boxes. Like, we're talking 20 plus boxes of the same box from the same store. And you know what we got? We got approximately like 2 alt arts, and they weren't even valuable alt arts. It was tough. It was really, really tough opening all of those and basically absorbing a massive loss. And like stuff like that kind of ruins the hobby for some of us. I don't find it fun to open a ton of product and get nothing. So the hobby with these sealed boxes really is pushing more towards investing than it is opening or having fun. And that's what the hobby really should be about. It really shouldn't be about investing necessarily, but it's the environment of Pokemon is becoming more and more investing. More and more people are making videos with charts and analyzing these sets. And I think it's like a lot of us should know by now, a lot of these sets are going to go up in value. Do you want to take the gamble on buying them when they're at their peaks, hoping that you make some type of gain on them? I don't think people should approach this to like, damn, that's doing really well. I just came into the hobby. Let's buy it. Now, if you want a box of every set, I've talked about this in previous videos. If you want a box of every set, go for it. There's no harm in that. If it's for your personal collection, buy a box of every set just to enjoy. I've got some boxes behind me just to show that I do like sealed modern, even though the mass majority of my modern sealed booster boxes are sitting in my closet, and I'm going to hold on to them probably for 5 to 10 years. Honestly, here's another thing. You have to be ready to sit on product for several years. And do you have any seller experience? Have you ever shipped out a booster box? Have you ever packaged a booster box? Have you ever sold to somebody and they're really upset because the booster box came damaged, and so they leave you a bad review and now no one wants to buy from you? It's a lot easier said than done. I think a lot of people love the idea of sealed investing, but have no idea how to sell products, have no idea how to package, have no idea how to ship, have never shipped anything out before, but are jumping into this hobby expecting to buy stuff and sell it easily for buku bucks. I mean, of course, you could sell stuff on Facebook Marketplace, but if you want to get the maximum return on stuff, you really need to put it out on big platforms like Mercari or eBay, or I guess we could even say Whatnot. even though I don't recommend you buy off of whatnot. But you need to know what you're doing, essentially. So I think if you are going down this path, you need to get acquainted with selling cards in general and get acquainted with the shipping costs and the mechanics of everything, and get used to it, because I am very used to selling cards at this point. I almost have 1,000 sales on eBay, and I have over 1,000 sales with my Mercari and my eBay combined. So I'm very used to selling and shipping out items, and that's very important for me to get in the groove of doing that and get used to doing it, so that way when I do finally pull the trigger on selling one of these booster boxes at a all-time high or a premium, I can actually ship and sell that with confidence, and people can buy from me with confidence, which is really, really important too. I will say, if I could go back in time, I would have just been boring, and I would have bought several booster boxes instead of buying a pallet basically of heavy hitters boxes that had nothing in them. I just thought for the cost basis, this has to go well. There's so many boxes. A couple of these boxes have to have something in them, but it was really only like 2 boxes that had anything in them at all. So hopefully y'all can learn from that and learn that these products that Costco carries or Sam's Club carries, channels are going to buy these products and open them, and maybe they're going to get something good, but that doesn't mean you're going to get something good. So we need to be really, really careful about the products that we're buying here. And in the end, I think it goes back to the traditional mantra of just like, buy the singles that you love, buy the alt arts that are super popular that make you happy, and then buy the sealed boxes to go along with them for display, to have in your collection, and then maybe buy duplicates. Buy 1 or 2 more of those boxes to sit on in the long run. Maybe you sell one and it pays for your card. Maybe you sell the other and it pays for your other box. Or maybe you load the boat, right? You're hoping for a rocket ship maneuver and everything is going to go to the moon, and you buy a ton of boxes sitting on them. That's a play too, but at least get the market timing right. At least buy this stuff when it's worth buying. People are in my comments buying Evolving Skies for $500-$600, saying that they're happy they didn't buy in at the all-time peak, and I'm happy for you guys. I'm very happy for you, but it's also crazy. I'm sure people can look back and be like, Orion is crazy. He was buying Evolving Skies at $150 a box when it was like probably $120 or $130. People were giving me crap for buying a case of it for like $1,000 at one point. And I look back, and now that case is, I think, worth like $3,000 or $4,000, 6 boxes, maybe even $6,000 soon at $1,000 a box, basically. But anyways, the point is, I was getting into stuff way early on, super cheap, but I can see how, in hindsight, when you look back, you're like, damn, why are people spending all this money? But at the end of the day, the market price is the market price, and that's what's available, and you might have to spend a lot of money to get these boxes. So I probably shouldn't be telling people, don't buy at $500 or $600, because maybe it ends up being a $2,000 box. Is it worth it to put so much money into one box like that and risk it? I don't know. Some of the better alternatives are, your Fusion Strike and your, Lost Origin, I suppose. But those have already started moving. So again, if you're looking at Sword and Shield, Silver Tempest seems to be like it's the best value you're going to get right now. And Brilliant Stars seems like it's next to start moving big time. So I'm looking at buying cases of Brilliant Stars. I'm looking at buying cases of Silver Tempest. That looks like it's the best overall value to me right now. Also, I don't have a case of Brilliant Stars, so I really want a case of Brilliant Stars. But it seems to be like a no-brainer, and it's outpacing traditional markets. It is like, it's a shocker. It's like, this doesn't make a lot of logical sense for everybody to be buying booster boxes. When this was a thing that people were speculating on, it was kind of like, I'm going to buy a bunch of booster boxes. We're going to see where this goes. And in the past, it's worked really well, right? If we look at vintage boxes, this is where these ideas have really flourished. Vintage boxes have gone up tremendously in value since the 90s, and I think a lot of people think that same thing is going to happen again. Now, with Sun and Moon, it's a perfect example. Team-up booster boxes are $2,000 plus, but there was a time when that was a $100 booster box, $80 booster box. So these things, history does repeat itself, but we have to take into account the factor of so much more being printed these days, and how is that going to affect the value rising in comparison to Sun and Moon? But you also have to take into account the popularity of Sword and Shield and everybody collecting Sword and Shield. Like, that alone could be why the demand stays really, really strong for Sword and Shield. So I think it's a no-brainer. Like Sword and Shield investing is going to work out for everybody, but there are just so many plays to make. There are so many plays to make, and it just seems like everybody's doing the same thing, and yet it's working. So it's almost frustrating because while I bought a bunch of sealed product, I also didn't really know if it was going to work. My fallback was going to be like, if this doesn't work out, I'll just open this stuff on the channel. It'll be fun for the channel and everybody who's watching. But now that it's working out, I look back and I wish I would have done a lot more. I wish I would have bought a lot more. That doesn't mean that right now I think that we should be buying more. That doesn't mean that I'm saying that you guys should be buying every single Sword and Shield box you can get your hands on. But I wish I had done differently back then. Knowing what I know now, I think, history has repeated itself here. We're seeing the numbers. We're seeing things in real time go up in value. And that's really validating, guys. It's happened. We have made, all of us who have invested in sealed product have made a nice little profit off of our sealed product. And that's pretty cool at the end of the day. The question is, where do we go from here, right? For me, I think watch auctions on these Sword and Shield booster boxes. If it goes anywhere below market, 130, 140 a box, I think it's a buy. Even if Pokemon Center still has boxes at 143, I think it's still a buy. 130, 140, just get it while you can. These boxes seem like they are getting pumped right now, and that means a lot of the product is going to get bought out. But it's important, remember to note that if it is getting pumped, people might dump their product again when they can't afford to sit on it. The market can remain irrational longer than you can remain solvent. So let's say we all start buying Pokemon Sword and Shield right now. We all start buying in big on Pokemon Sword and Shield, and then it just dumps out of nowhere. Everyone is selling their Sword and Shield again. It starts going back down again. Maybe it'll just be another good opportunity to buy in and accumulate, or maybe it'll be the reality that there are so many of these boxes out there. People don't realize how much product is out there, and we're jumping the gun here. But if you can just make sure you're getting good deals on this stuff. Make sure you're getting good deals on this stuff. Wait for auctions. Go to local events. Local events, people probably have this product and you can buy it for cash, and then they don't take a hit on fees that they would have on these platforms, where they're making less money than what it's actually selling for, right? If Fusion Strike is selling for 180 on eBay, they're going to take a 13% fee on that. So they're really only getting 160. And if they're paying for shipping, then they're getting, 150 something, which really isn't all that great if you bought it for 100, 110, 120. It's really not all that great, but we're getting there, right? So the gains are there. Let's see where it goes. Let me know what you guys are thinking about all this. Does it feel like it's a little bit of a pump? Or are you guys starting to load the boat? Is now the time? Is this one of the biggest collective movements in Pokemon that we've ever seen of people jumping on the bandwagon, buying Sword and Shield? Guys, when I look at Sword and Shield booster boxes on eBay, I am shocked right now. There aren't even that many options. Everything is listed for a buy it now, and then there's a couple auctions, there's a couple cases. The staple investment of booster boxes is actually not as readily available as people would think. All these auxiliary products, all these accessory products, all these collector boxes and UPCs, I'm starting to phase all of them out. Like, all of them are starting to be worthless to me personally. I've got a ton of Charizard UPCs and Arceus V-Star UPCs, and honestly, I kind of don't care about them. I'm kind of realizing that they're not moving very much, and the pack value should be moving on those boxes alone, but they're not moving. Why is that? Well, because people just want booster boxes. We all want booster boxes. If there's anything that we can learn from this, it's stick with the booster boxes. That seems to be one of the only things that's going to work, and down the road, you'll probably thank yourself a lot more for buying booster boxes than buying a bunch of random products. There have been time and time again people that have done this and it's worked for them, and yet we still don't do it. We don't want to believe that it works, but it works, guys. We are witnessing it right now for the first time in Pokemon history. all of these boxes in this era are going up, and they're going up fast. They are moving quickly. This is not like a FOMO thing. This isn't a pump thing. I'm not even really buying them right now, but it's definitely something that I am monitoring and observing. I have my own collection goals, which to me are far more important than trying to make money off of selling booster boxes. And that's the last thing I want to leave you guys with this video. You're going to listen to all these content creators, all these YouTubers. They may have really great advice. They may be telling you statistics and data about these boxes. I tried to make this video short and I couldn't do it, but collect what you love and don't jump on the bandwagon just because everybody else is doing it. If it's something that you know you're going to enjoy and you like looking at the sealed boxes and sitting on them, go for it. For me, it's not very fun. They sit in my closet. Sometimes I look at them, but they don't really mean much to me. The only ones that meant something to me were the first ones that I bought. And because I bought every single box in Sword and Shield except for Rebel Clash, I pretty much, every single box except Rebel Clash, which I still need a box of Rebel Clash. Because I did that, it sent me down a spiral of wanting cases and wanting more boxes. And I talked to other collectors that were buying cases that had closets and spare rooms full of cases of these boxes, guys. I knew early on that people were doing this, and I still kind of thought, you know what? I've got plenty. I'm going to do my own thing and collect cards that I really like. That's really, really important, guys, especially if you have a good income, a good job, good salary, and you don't have to rely on flipping these products. Buy what you love and don't necessarily jump on the bandwagon of buying all these products because I think in the long run, you're going to regret it because, yeah, you can buy a bunch of modern seal product and then you sell it, and now you have the money to buy all the things that you really want. But suddenly all the things that you really want have gotten way too expensive. They've become way too scarce. So it's something that I want people to think about that are trying to collect vintage Grail cards. You can't have it all. I can't have it all. I've had to decide, instead of doing openings for the channel and sitting on accumulating sealed product, I've had to decide myself, what do I want more? Do I want the cards that make me happy that I'm going to look at on a daily basis, or do I want the booster boxes that I'm going to sit on to make a profit? So it's a tough choice. Only you guys can make that choice. But let me know what you think of this whole Sword and Shield movement. It's getting pretty wild. Anyways, peace out, guys. Have a good one.